Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Fratello Talks. I'm your host, Nacho, and this week I'm joined by my colleagues,
Lex
and
RJ.
And we're going to be discussing the topic of a new watch for a new James Bond. So we're going to be Exactly. Perfect. So we roll the credits. We have the little the guy shooting into the screen and the blood comes down. No, but we're going to be looking at some of the watches. Obviously, new James Bond. Daniel Craig has handed in his gun and his badge, and it's time for a new Bond. And obviously, new Bond will need a new watch. So we're going to be discussing the topic, seeing what we would like to see on the next James Bond's wrist. But before we look at James Bond's wrist, let's look at our own wrists. What's on your wrist today, RJ?
A James Bond watch.
Oh, yeah.
Took it out of the safe.
There you go.
It's the Omega Seamaster Professional 300 meters. And it's the 2531.80.
Yep.
So it's the watch that he wore in Tomorrow Never Dies, if I'm not mistaken.
This was even the previous Bond.
Yeah, that
Pierce
was
Brosnan.
Pierce Brosnan, yeah.
Cool. And I think Daniel Craig did wear a similar one, but it was already a later generation.
One, later
but
iteration.
It was also a blue with a wave dial.
Yeah.
Cool. Lex, what is on your wrist today?
A watch James Bond should have worn. It's the Speedmaster replica, and RJ knows the reference number.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Share it.
Okay. 3594.50.
Yeah. So,
Perfect.
The broad arrow one.
Lovely watch. I like the strap on there.
Yeah.
So one of those Joseph Bonnie.
And it copes
rubber,
with the rain.
Serica rubber
And the
straps.
Serica rubber strap. It's really
very
nice.
A bit of matchy-matchy as
Yeah,
well, which is
matchy-matchy.
always good. And I'm wearing another watch that I think James Bond could very well have worn or could still someday wear, which is my Seamaster reference 2254 with the sword hands, .50, .00. So I think it's a Bond watch in spirit only, but I mean, it's an Omega Seamaster, so it's pretty close. Cool. But before we talk about the watches, I want to talk about who we would like to be the next James Bond. Do you have any actors that come to mind? Any specific people you'd like to see holding the Walter?
Yeah. It's also a guy with the last name Q on his Instagram. And he's sitting in front of us. It's our cameraman.
Oh, he would be Matthias.
He would be the perfect.
Matthias should be the
new
next
Bond.
James Bond.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, we'll put him in the running.
Yeah.
Johnny Quid.
Has there ever been a Dutch James Bond?
Yeah, many.
Okay.
Sean Connery was Dutch.
Sean Connery was famously Dutch.
Yeah.
We had some Bond girls.
Oh yeah, Famke Janssen.
Daphne Dekker.
Well, there you go. Well, how
Whose
about
husband has an office in the same office building as we are in.
Oh wow, amazing.
Richard Krajicek, the tennis player.
I cycled past his house the other day.
Yeah, sometimes he's here.
Okay. Anyway,
It's a small world, and Holland is a small
do high
country
fives.
in a small world. But yeah, so it's but seriously, any
Harry Styles.
Harry Styles.
Yeah,
Okay.
to attract a new audience,
Yeah.
a younger audience.
I think that could that could work potentially. I mean, he was in Dunkirk.
Yeah, he was in Dunkirk, and
played
then he
a-
made it all the way across the channel.
He did. He
Yeah.
almost had to swim it
Yeah.
halfway. No, but I think that's could be potentially a good choice. Do we think that it would be nice plot wise, rather than to go back to some of the old known James Bond novels for plots, to maybe go back and because I would like to see something like a origin story, like seeing Bond in the army, like a younger actor, and then it allows obviously for a bit of longevity in the role, right?
Yeah, what I really like about the first Daniel Craig movie, that it was almost like an origin story.
True.
And also it was a completely different movie. It kind of set a new tone, and I think that maybe they should do that again, and then maybe with an actor you would not expect, because people were talking about was it Henry Cavill,
Aaron
Tom
Taylor Johnson,
Tom Hardy, all very, very cool and rugged and strong and muscular and everything. But maybe it would be nice to now reset it a little bit, just like because at first also with Daniel Craig, I know a lot of people were very upset with him.
I think I would like to see Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy.
Yeah, that would be a very unexpected. But he's a bit old, isn't he?
So was Craig in the end.
Daniel Craig was 38, I believe, when he first played.
And how old
Bond.
is?
I think he's 41 or something like that. No, a little older. Maybe
41 is the new 38.
Yeah. It could be. I don't know. For me, I also, if I look at some British actors, I really like Richard Madden. I think he was great he was in Game of Thrones, but I think he was really good in The Bodyguard. And played a role that where you saw him in a suit.
They also mentioned Kit Harington from...
Kit Harington, yeah. He's also, I believe, a year younger than Richard Madden, so I think he could also potentially be, an actor. And if you want somebody who's even younger, you could look at Will Poulter, who is, I believe, 31, born 4 days after me.
Yeah,
so
but the watch these guys will be wearing, it also, I think the watch should also fit their look, and acting style, and then of course also the tone of the movie. I mean, as Cillian Murphy would be, that if you take an actor like that, it would be more sinister, I would think, than if you take Harry Styles, for instance.
Yeah, true. What do we think? And so now we know some of our candidates for perhaps a future Bond. What do we think, looking back at the last Bond watch that Daniel Craig wore, the No Time to Die Seamaster in titanium?
Yeah.
I like it a lot as a watch, but also as a Bond watch. The strange thing is a little bit, of course, the broad arrow on the dial, because that would give away your position as a secret agent, I guess.
A little bit.
But I do like to watch, and I do feel that the platform of the 300M is a good platform, and I think they militarized it a little bit, or quite a bit, and I think it's quite an awesome watch. It also depends a little bit on the story of Bond, where it plays and in what time frame.
Exactly.
So if you go back in time,
perhaps
you wear a vintage watch.
Like
that would be nice, actually.
Like a period piece, right? You go back to where it depends where you want to put Bond, because I mean, Bond has kind of existed. It's this sort of timeless character that has existed. Usually he's in the now, right? So in the 60s, 70s, he was in the now, in the then, and so the most recently it always is happening in the current period. But a Bond period piece could be fantastic, and then you could see him wearing like the predecessors to
it would
to
also
watch.
completely fit the zeitgeist, so to speak, where people tend to like looking back and feeling all nostalgic and warm and fuzzy, and then
would it become a little bit of an issue then? Because if it goes back and warm and fuzzy, because in the past he wore watches from different brands. Of course, everyone knows that he wore Rolex because Ian Fleming was a avid explorer wearer.
Yeah, true. Yep.
But he also wore Breitling, Seiko. I think there are some other watches that were featured in the movie as well. Would it then make sense to wear an Omega? Would it like?
I mean, I think
go against the books,
maybe
basically.
for people who are in very
niche,
deep and they're very niche,
Yeah.
they would have a problem. But I think for the broader audience, I don't think it would be.
I do like the fact that in the last Bond movie, and I was at the set at Matera, it was really cool.
Yeah,
but they had all the Aston Martin cars.
Yeah.
What a scene was that?
The BMW M2 platform. There were many of them. There were like 10 standing around there. It was amazing.
Yeah.
And all the bullet holes were like stickers, and it was really really well done.
That was such an amazing scene, by
Yeah.
the way.
It was really cool. And when they shot the scene with the shooting, we were standing around the corner.
Okay.
It was really cool. So what I like is that they brought back the Aston Martin, because that's not a modern car. Well, they made it modern, but it's not a modern car. I also would like it if the movie plays in the now. That they could also bring back watches that are like vintage.
Oh, definitely.
Well, they could do something like this, where there's like maybe flashbacks, and then at some point he discovers like some time capsule that he buried with his original passport, right? You see like his real name or something like that, and then there's his old I don't know, like if you think, okay, he was in the British Army, you see maybe a CWC, like an issued CWC with a broad arrow on like a NATO strap, something like that, or a vintage Omega from the
RF
time.
one.
It could be a nice thing to see. He gets lost and loses his watch and his equipment, and he has to go.
Was rich enough to.
They were very thick
it.
in the past.
For sure. So
Thicker than
the
today.
thing is, with the Omega catalog, that's a good point, and it's something I've been thinking about. Should Bond have a specific watch made for him by Omega, as we saw in the last movie? Because that's kind of what I wanted to get to with looking at the previous one. Or would we rather see, as it was in the past with a watch like this, them take something that's already in the catalog and make that the watch that he wears?
To be honest, I like that, because
that he gets
this watch was here first, the one I'm wearing.
Yeah.
Was here before the movie. Because this watch was introduced in '93, and then in the first movie with Pierce Brosnan was in '95, and then he had the quartz one, GoldenEye.
Yeah.
And I think that was also part of the success, that he wore a watch that was just available. And I heard from many retailers
from a commercial perspective, that is super clever.
Exactly, because people came into the shop and they said, "Hey, I want the same watch as James Bond has." And that's this one.
I think it also depends on what Amigo wants to do. Do they want to create an image? Do they want to use it as an image boost, marketing-wise, or do you want to sell James Bond watches?
Well,
what about the gimmicks? Do we also want to see lasers, chainsaws?
Oh, definitely. It's gotta be. It's gotta be.
It's
gotta be.
You like that?
A prop, and it's gotta have a part in the role, right?
That's why I liked Casino Royale, because it was just a good movie with a decent watch and all that fiddly stuff.
It didn't do any of the laser shooting or anything.
I
don't like it?
No, I like it.
I think it depends. So again, like you said, it's a tonal thing. If we I mean, with Pierce Brosnan, it was still a bit of there was a certain goofiness to the Bond back then, where him shooting the crown out as a grappling hook.
Back, right? The goofiness will never come back.
They could go either way. I mean, with Will Poulter, as I mentioned before, he's done some comedy acting as well. It could be an interesting thing. But I think that after Craig, it doesn't make sense to go back to a goofy Bond. I don't think that's anything that anybody would be looking forward to. So in that sense, just wearing the watch, maybe remove the crown. It's an explosive charge, something. I mean, but definitely not where he presses it and the hands align and then it shoots a laser out of the. I mean, that's a little bit.
What I found a little bit confusing in some movies, he wore two different watches. So there was an Aquaterra and there was a 300M.
He did.
Of course, there was a 300M and there was the Planet Ocean.
Yeah.
And I stick to one watch.
Was that Quantum of Solace or
I think it was actually in two movies that he wore.
I think
two different
also
watches.
in the first in Casino Royale.
Spectre also had a.
Oh yeah, true. He wore the blue one and he wore the Planet Ocean.
Yeah, but it also kind of makes sense. I mean, the guy goes from rugged action and then being in
but do
a
you
tuxedo.
then travel as a secret? You travel multiple
of course,
watches with you.
Of course, you have to blend in. It also doesn't make any sense to be wearing a field watch during a gala.
You need to have a gala watch, man. Do it all.
Yeah. So then the Aquaterra could be. So that's the thing. So if we look then at the current Omega catalog, which watches would be suitable Bond watches? Because I think that latest Aquaterra that came out, could be, that could be
awesome.
If there's like a diving mission where he has to go, I don't know, find an enemy submarine or something, that could be great. And it's definitely a watch that allows for a lot.
Or
of
in Harry Styles' case, a constellation.
Yeah. Could be a constellation, small constellation.
Small one.
You could go with the new Aquaterra, which is quite subtle, and talk about a gala
black
watch.
one.
It might bring back the appetite for constellation. Anyway,
Yeah, that's true.
good.
That's true.
But the Proprov is also nice. You can also use it as a knuckle duster.
No, but I think it's definitely
How
a
about
secret agent. Well, a special agent.
what about this? What about
To redo the Moonraker.
Moonraker with the Speedmaster
God, Moonraker.
space plot?
What a movie!
Maybe don't put him on the moon.
Disaster of a movie.
Maybe
that
put him
was.
on the ISS, but don't take him to the
No,
moon.
but that's also a thing that's something I hope they will never do again. Don't take Bond into space.
Yeah, it's a bit.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I just imagine like Ad Astra or Gravity, but then with like people shooting at each other, and it's a little bit. It's a little bit much. No.
I mean, Bond in a white tux jacket, wearing the new wide-dialed Speedy.
Also nice.
That could be-
he was the
could
first
be-
one to wear it actually in public.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah. And what about something like the X-33? Maybe not for Bond, but maybe for Q, or one of the side characters that's a little bit more techie. One of the other 007s.
It's an interesting choice because then they can also use it to communicate with each other. For example.
Oh God, here
Huh?
we go.
Yeah,
Here we go.
Well, you packed. Yeah,
Makes more sense to communicate with a digital watch than through a mechanical watch, I guess.
That's true.
Exactly. Yeah, and
far
it's
as I
got
know.
it's got the
actually
digital
makes sense
screens.
to have an X33.
X33 it is.
Yeah, I think it actually makes sense.
So
X007.
we've come to a consensus.
Solar powered.
We want. Yeah, solar powered. I remember your article on that. That's the last thing. The last thing that the X33 needs is that it's solar powered. Then it's a perfect watch. But I think so. We're at a consensus, right? We think it should be an X33. What about when he dresses up?
Or GoPro for the X33
Constellation.
movement. Oh yeah, you don't have the pushers.
A digital GoPro.
One push. You have one big pusher.
Yeah, but that red button could be amazing for I don't know, setting off charges
it's
or
like a joystick kind
deploy
of
the taser.
Oh God!
Yeah. Deploy the taser. He clicks it and the car comes.
I think James Bond travels with a Constellation.
That could be nice.
Or I don't know, or some DeVille.
Yeah, I also have to say I like the new Aquaterra with a black dial. I think it's a really cool watch with a new style bracelet and so on. Perhaps it's a little bit too shiny. On the other hand, a Constellation is also relatively shiny, although it has a
nice
bit
DeVille.
more
What about
brushed.
a nice thin, simple DeVille, like something?
Yeah, the Aquaterra, you could put it on the rubber strap that they offer.
True.
As well, and then it's a bit.
It's
more
a bit sad that we can't talk about any other brands. We could,
we
but
could
the thing is, of course,
This is not paid as far as I know.
No, but James Bond is paid by he's paid.
What
to
about
wear an Omega? So
well, yeah, that's the thing. So
it makes no
realistically,
sense.
so that's the
Makes no
that's
sense mentioning other brands.
No,
No.
that's the thing. So realistically, it's going to be an Omega.
Yeah.
But we could think outside the box a little bit and talk about other stuff. I mean, we mentioned Rolex. He could go back to, if it's a retrospective, you could say, okay, he was
but I
wearing
think-
an Explorer, or you could.
But those are not really. I think with certain Omegas, especially like an X33
yeah.
and the Ploprof, of course they are very expensive watches, but they are still quite tool watch-ish.
Oh, definitely.
And a Rolex isn't anymore, in my opinion. It's a different topic, but
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
on that note, I think a long time ago on Fratello, I mentioned something about Bond watch, and there's this Danish brand called Linde Werdelin.
Yeah.
And at some point they had these watches, and you could click on this
the modules.
these modules
Yeah.
for diving, but
Yeah.
also for rock climbing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was also quite cool.
That could be interesting for sure. Like a modular, high tech kind of thing, and could be interesting. It certainly fits the spy vibe, the international man of
But
mystery.
yeah, you could
kind of
also
thing.
do something with the X33, something.
Well, or you could have
digital
you could have like a reverso that when he flips it over, there's a little digital screen with a. I mean, I'm thinking of like old Bond, so I'm seeing like a radar screen with a little red blip on it, the little thing going around.
Yeah.
I mean,
and when he goes out, he wears a 222.
a Vacheron.
Yeah,
222.
he wears a Vacheron. Harry Styles would. I'm still
maybe.
thinking about my
This is the Harry Styles episode for you,
the
Lance.
Happy Styles. Happy Styles.
Happy Styles.
Harry Styles.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But what else could we see Bond wearing? Is there anything else that sort of comes
An
to
earring?
mind?
No, not an earring. No, not an earring. No.
High
no.
tech. I don't know. But any
Moonswatch.
other brand?
No.
Moonswatch. Then no one would suspect that he's a spy.
No.
They just think some guy with a
With a plastic
bioceramic
watch.
watch. Amazing. No, but I think
What else?
I think
What
Omega suits, aside from the books with Rolex, and I think that was kind of nice because the Rolex Explorer was mentioned in the books, and in the movie got a Submariner, so that also didn't make much sense.
What about him wearing a Christopher Ward?
Christopher Ward, or would it have to be a British brand? Christopher Ward.
well,
Bremont?
Roger Smith.
Yeah, a Roger Smith.
Roger
not a
Smith.
Bremont.
No.
Roger Smith could be nice on like on M or something like that. One of the higher ups at MI6.
It would be
can also
nice
afford
actually
it.
to see him where he drives. He drives an Aston Martin. He goes to Savile Row. He's not in Brioni anymore, right?
They should put him in.
Back
Do
to
you
British.
feel it's sad that they switch? Well, I like for a fact that they are now with Omega for nearly 30 years.
Yeah, that's.
I think that's kind of cool. And of course, the 30 years before, or I don't know how long, he switched brands quite a bit. But with Omegas now, of course, it's a partnership, but it's a long-lasting partnership.
Yeah.
And with cars, he was even driving at some point a Ford. He had a BMW, nice ones. But he had all sorts of different.
But it
car
felt
brands. But
odd, right?
Yeah.
The BMWs felt odd as well, a bit.
Yeah.
He drove a tank through Berlin at one point.
What
Remember
brand? What brand was that?
Leopard.
I don't.
Was it Leopard? I can't remember that.
Yeah, but I think that the thing is, it's really hard to think of him wearing anything other than Omega because it has become so synonymous, right? I mean, for me growing up, I mean, I was born 2 years before the first time he wore an Omega. So for me, it's been my whole life. It's been Bond has been wearing an Omega.
Crying.
I mean, it's only my when watching some of the
Matthijs
older
as well.
movies. But yeah, I don't know. So it's really it's hard to sort of think outside the box of that partnership.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's there's so many different options, but nothing quite feels as right as an Omega. And I think there's a lot of models, like we said in the catalog, that could do the trick.
Options,
though I think that it's clear that we'll get something new from Omega. We'll get a new actor and we'll get a new watch and
new Bond girl
and new Bond girl
or Bond guy.
True.
You don't know.
Yeah, true. What about a female actress
as Bond?
for Bond?
Go for it.
We had there was a female 007 in the last movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was could also go completely a different direction, which would be nice. I mean, talk about
I don't know
changing
if
the
it
tone
would be
as well.
nice, but
Well, it would breathe a bit of life because the thing is, you
That's
can only
true.
go back to those old plots. Like, what do we want? Just to see an updated version of all the old movies? I mean, that's a little bit.
that I don't. Yeah, that also
know the
wouldn't
plot,
work. Like
so-
like a reboot. Like
Yeah.
that with Spider-Man. You can't do that with
No.
James Bond.
I mean, there's new books being written. I mean, it's been given. I've forgotten the author's name, but there's new Bond books that have come out. There's been 2 released since. One of them, sadly, Bond himself is actually not in the book, other than being mentioned in it. But it looks at all the other 007s. So there could be sort of like an interim franchise where you look at the 007s. Maybe it's more a TV show. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, that's the thing that we know for sure is that it will be.
Yeah. Well, since Omega will still be partner, so but that's the advantage of having so many references in the catalog.
Yeah, that there's always going to be something to match. But I think chances are there will be another reference specifically for the man with the gun.
But I think it would be nice if it's an existing reference, or as they now also did with the No Time to Die Seamaster, that it will be in the catalog, so people can actually buy that.
Definitely,
watch.
definitely. How do we feel though about, speaking of Bond watches? How do we feel about the Bond branded 007 branded watches that often come out after the movies? Like that have the swirly gun barrel rifling on the dial.
It really depends on the design. It's also with Speedmasters. I don't like every Speedmaster out there. It's also I don't like every Bond watch out there. But some are nice. I think they also did one in platinum that came in this box.
Oh yeah,
really awesome.
There was the 60th anniversary.
Yeah, I think it was
a bit like
this. I
this.
think it was that one. And some models I like. What I not particularly like were the second hands that said 007 on the counterweight.
There was also a dial that was just 007
Yeah.
over and over and over
I did
again.
like the Aquaterra in blue and yellow. And I think it was for Spectre or Skyfall, one of the 2.
Yeah, there was
and it had
something.
this family weapon or this logo on the
Oh
dial.
yeah, the
crest.
The
Yeah.
crest, the motive. That was quite nice.
Okay, I hear Aquaterra blue and yellow, and I'm thinking Duplantis.
Yeah, you're thinking of the pole vaulter, the Swedish pole vaulter. Yeah.
But there are some nice models they did, I feel. There was also this Commander watch. I don't know if you remember. They introduced it in London, I think. It was a 300M with a white dial, and there was blue and red on it as well.
Oh, right. Yeah, I think I know
quite
the one.
nice.
Well, actually, speaking of Seamasters that could be perfect for Bond's wrist, how about the one that we've seen issued to the Special Forces up in Denmark? How about that? I think that.
How about that?
but
Catch me outside.
But that actually makes even more sense.
Yeah, and that's an amazing reference. I mean,
Done.
matte brushed.
Yeah, but that one you can't buy.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That
Then
one
it
you
would
can't
have to
buy, and you
become,
can't put it in the catalog, I think.
No.
Yeah.
Which is also nice.
Which is also kind of it's very special.
Yeah, but they want to
service.
sell
It's very
something.
special.
No,
Special,
the
of
Bond
course.
tie is always going to be a commercial thing. There's always going to be something. But I like that Omega does special watches for military outfits that just you just can't have. That's a nice thing that they're doing. Because you see, for example, other brands doing similar things where they put a crest either on the back of the watch or on the dial, but then they are just an iteration of a model that you can get very, very, very similar. I'm thinking of the Pelagos FXD, but at the same time,
what about a titanium Speedmaster?
Titanium Speedmaster could be nice.
Could be. Like the Apollo 11 one, the 45th anniversary was titanium. Yeah.
Do you
But
think
the X33 is titanium.
Yeah, I know.
what's the most useful complication for a secret agent?
Countdown timer, man, for bombs.
Countdown time. Countdown timer for bombs. Chronograph.
Sorry, yeah.
What about a dive chronograph? How about one of those Seamaster dive chronographs? Because then you get the two things in one.
Yeah, and you can use the pushers underwater.
Yeah,
because then you can detonate the stuff.
Yeah,
nice.
Exactly. You're just thinking about pressing something,
blowing
on
up stuff, man.
Blowing something
yeah.
up. Oh, right. Do you think that the watches made available to people should also have the ability to blow stuff up?
I wouldn't mind one.
Okay, the answer is definitely no. No one should be given that much power.
And my neighbor was parked wrong this morning, man. So
you just unscrew your helium escape valve. Click.
Yeah. No, I think that's an interesting choice. I think the 300M chronograph. We had one in the office in gold. Remember, with the two counter one.
I couldn't carry it. It
strap.
was too heavy. I couldn't.
So nice.
So nice.
Yeah. We tried to
something like that, and perhaps in titanium or tantalum or something nice, and then
not in tantalum.
Why not?
It's even heavier.
Yeah, it looks cool.
Yeah, but Bond's a buff guy.
Yeah,
he can handle it.
No, Harry's not that buff.
Oh. He could bulk up. He could bulk up. I don't know.
No.
Bulked up Harry. I mean, imagine.
Oh God.
Okay. Well, we've gone a little bit off the rails, but I still think that it's an interesting discussion.
Yeah. So, what is it for you?
What is it for me?
Final choice.
I think for me it would be the Danish frog Frumand Seamaster. Is it titanium? I don't know. Fully brushed.
Yeah.
Could be titanium, but then on the full Seamaster like 5-link bracelet. Although, yeah, I mean, but I think that would be it for me. Like sort of gray, very subtle, nothing too flashy. I think that could feel pretty right for Bond.
And you, Lex?
Titanium Constellation.
Titanium Constellation.
Wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't help that I'm looking at this. We have a picture off camera of a constellation, but it's like a smaller model with diamonds and two-tone. So I'm having a really hard time.
Yeah.
But
I'm also having a very hard time imagining it, but I'm still thinking titanium.
There was in the 80s.
Yeah.
Grandfather speaks. In the 80s, there was this advertisement for Omega, and it was Robert Wagner, the actor, who threw his wife off a boat, I think, or something. I'll look him up on Wikipedia.
I don't think he got a... No, never mind.
But anyway, the story goes.
Yeah.
There was an advertisement with him, and he was wearing the Omega Constellation Manhattan that came out in 82. And he was in a tuxedo and then eating noodles. Because...
Why?
You can have whatever you
hungry.
want, or something. What's the slogan?
It was my Omega,
it was
my
really
choice.
cool. We'll put it up in the show notes.
It'll be up on the screen as we're talking about it.
So he looked a little bit like Bond with a constellation.
See?
Yeah. So if they would do a re-edition of that version in titanium,
with the extra,
I'm with you.
extra water resistance.
Box of
and
noodles.
For you, there will be a laser and a box of noodles.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. But what would
it comes in? It comes in a box of noodles.
I think that's kind of nice if they would do that, but realistically, so relax.
The X33?
X33 or Poprof.
Okay.
And then then probably
Poprof is also.
But X33
more functions.
It's more functions. Yeah.
You're going to be so disappointed next time you pick up your Ploprof, you press the red button,
and nothing happens.
Nothing blows up.
The car of my neighbor is still there.
Come on. It's not working. No, cool. But thanks. I think it's been an interesting chat. Of course, we will ask our commenters to suggest to make their suggestions in the comments. But first, let's read a comment from last week's podcast. And we had one from oh my gosh, it's a lot of consonants in a row. But Pernuv Sharma 55, who says, Fratello has become my favorite. Keep up the great work, team. A bit of self-indulgence there, but hey, a little pat on the back for us. So I hope that hasn't changed after this podcast. It's always a coin toss there. No, but I think it's nice to hear some nice feedback from our listeners. We really appreciate it. Now, of course, we ask you to leave some thoughts in the comments down below. Let us know which watch, Omega or otherwise, you would like to see Bond wear in the next outing, who you would like to see as Bond. Do you think Harry Styles is a good choice, like Lex does? And, of course, tune in next week for another episode of Fratello Talks. Roll the credits. See you then.